Let me come over here and begin to walk through. The altar that he's building is larger than this, so it'll go almost to the wall, come out about the same place it's coming out now. But we'll have more room on the altar for all the stuff that we put up here once we get that. So this is how we have only two sets of these, burst and veil they're called. And along the way, I hope we get all the others, because I like to be able to, what we call vest the chalice every week. You know, it's beautiful. It reminds people of the season in which they're finding themselves on this particular Sunday.
So you're saying you have two of the seasons now?
So what I have now is I have a white and I have a purple, but I don't have the others. So along the way, we'll get the others, and eventually I'd like us to vest every Sunday. But right now we only use the white on High Holy Days, and the purple is only for Lent. But I want to go ahead and show you how it's done. So you have this thing here called a burse, and which is where the word purse comes from. Actually, burse was first, and it's simply a place for storage. So typically, you're keeping an extra purificator or two. It's a large parish. You're keeping a couple of purificators, which are those little linen napkins we use to wipe the chalice. And sometimes you'll find that a priest will put maybe his paper service leaflet in here, so he's got it when he's up here if he needs it. I don't ever do that, but sometimes they do. It can also be used sometimes when they take things apart. Over on the credence table, they're still placing this just for beauty. Along the way too, we're going to get two credence tables. We're not there yet. Someday we will, one over there and one over here, because typically what you do in a church is you're preparing from one, but then you're placing it on the other. So it not only gives you more room for all the stuff, but then you know what's been blessed and what hasn't been blessed. That's not been blessed typically, that has been blessed typically, but in time. The veil, again, just like the fair linen, is supposed to represent the shroud in which the body of Jesus was wrapped. So when I take this off, so I'm beginning with it on this beautiful side, and then back, and then forward. So beginning with the beauty, going back, then forward. And I'm flipping it over. So when you see me prep the altar on Sundays, this is what I'm doing. And then those two go together. They're ready on the altar. So this is how they're kept, and I'll show you that in a minute in the sacristy. So this is what I call my friend Paul. And really the primary purpose of Paul is to keep stuff out of the chalice, so that when you're in the midst of blessing, preparing for communion, a lot of times if they're fragrant flowers, there can be little gnats or things up here. You don't want them in the wine. And you keep the Paul on there to keep them out. Paten, fancy word for plate. This is the purificator, that linen napkin. I'm going to order more linens. We have very, very few, and we need more. So that's linen, and the chalice itself. And underneath, this is the thing that badly needs to be ironed, called a corporal. So what you're doing is you're coming here to the middle of the table, using the cross as the center. You've got a cross on the corporal, so you're going to make sure the cross on the corporal is lined up with that cross. And then you're going to pull it forward to the edge of the altar. And then the corporal's ready. And then on top of the corporal, you're putting the chalice. On top of the chalice, you're putting the purificator with which you wipe the chalice. On top of the purificator, you're putting the paten. On top of the paten, you're putting the pall. On top of the pall, you're putting the veil, and then the burse. So Cindy had a neat way of remembering this. Now Cindy, remind me, it's soft, starts here?
It's
Soft, hard.
soft, hard.
Soft.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't
Maybe
start
it's
with the
hard.
corporal. Maybe you started just with the chalice.
It might have-
Hard, soft, hard, soft.
Yes, that's it. Because we called it at the cathedral the stack, and this was my wheelhouse. This is what I did every time I had altar guild. I knew the stack well.
That is what priests typically call it the stack. This is all this stuff stacked up together. But again, you know, God is going to be okay if that's not just exactly right. Okay. You know, I may have told you before, when I was at Christ Church in Greenville, South Carolina, there was a very snitty priest named Stephen Williams, who used to be a monk, and he just a little too fastidious about everything. And one of my early times of celebrating at that huge altar in that big church, the flagon in which we had wine was on the corporal like that. So like that much of it was not on the corporal. So after the service, he was just livid because, well, we don't know that was blessed, do we? What were we even doing there? I said, don't we think God knows the intent of our prayer and our heart, and it's covered? He didn't like that answer. But at the end of the day, we try to do it in the same way all the time because it looks beautiful. Everybody can understand what's being done, and it makes sense in terms of priests and altar guild and acolytes and burghers. But beyond that, come on, God knows what's what. Now, in the ancient church, there was this idea that you're only blessing what was on the corporal, because there was this idea that, if you said a prayer of blessing and that wasn't clear, the intent was not clear in the blessing, then you could end up with, a book having been blessed. Maybe you got an acolyte who put, I don't know, let's just say a pencil on the table. Then the pencil now is consecrated, and that's not what we believe. We believe God knows the heart and intent of the prayer. Anything about that? Oh, right now, what I've been doing that I'm going to stop doing, but what I've been doing is I've been coming in early and go ahead and put wine in the chalice. Now I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and get you all in the practice of doing it in the cruet, so that you're doing what we ought to be doing and what we'll be doing long term. The only thing I will do is I will put the priest host in the paten, so that's already there. But otherwise, I'll leave it to you to address the altar and set it up, which means I'm not going to set this up anymore. On Sundays, I'll leave that to your hands because you need to learn to do it.
So did I just catch that? Actually, you're not going to put the wine in there, you're going to put the wine in